Welcome back to another video of Turtles All the Way Down and our further investigation into what science has found with respect to alien technosignatures. In part 1, we discussed the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, or SETI, its radio search, and what has so far been found. In this last part, we continue this discussion, but in other search modalities, such as our scientific observations in the infrared, visible light, and in others. Has anything been found? Moving up the spectrum to infrared, we find a region where we may discover a different kind of evidence for extraterrestrial intelligence, the so-called Dyson sphere. The late physicist Freeman Dyson in 1960 published a paper suggesting that civilizations increasingly become larger and larger energy consumers, and as a result would eventually require extracting as much energy from its home star as possible. The best way to do so, Dyson argued, would be to either completely or partially envelope its star in megastructures that absorb its light output and convert it to usable energy for their civilization. These Dyson spheres, or Dyson swarms, would absorb what energy they could, but would also give off a certain amount of waste heat. In other words, infrared energy that would be detectable. Dyson calculated what frequencies we could look for in the sky to search for these Dyson spheres around stars. Essentially, you would be looking for dim or dark stars that, when looked at in infrared, would be bright. This extreme engineering idea has an even more extreme extension that suggests that even an entire galaxy itself, or most of the stars within it, may at least be partially enveloped by a super advanced ETA. Many SETI searches for Dyson spheres have been conducted throughout the years, even for those around galaxies. What has been found? Well, hundreds, if not thousands, of possible candidates have been discovered that may fit some of the criteria for Dyson spheres. But again, as with most of these results, other natural sources could also account for the findings. It is indeed frustrating, but more independent searches with different observational modalities can help in possibly narrowing the case for extraterrestrial intelligence. For example, by observing these candidates in long-term radio or optical studies. Another search modality has been used for the search for ETI, that is, Optical SETI. This is a search for visible light signals. Any hypothetical detections may be a result of many types of exotic technology, maybe from intentional laser signaling, from stellar search beacons, from spacecraft engine firings, beams aimed at laser sails, galactic location beams, or communication signals. Optical SETI is a relatively new search program. Narrow sky and all sky surveys have been conducted. Searches have been made for ultra-short nanosecond pulses of light. These have been on-again, off-again searches that observe for relatively short periods of time. So far, nothing convincing and non-natural has been found. That is not to say that visible pulses have not been found. They have. But their origins have been determined to be from natural sources. Can some of them have their origins from extraterrestrial intelligences? Again, with all of these potential hits, the answer can surely be yes. But there are always going to be caveats. I may sound like a broken record at this point, but the scientific reality is that we must go where the evidence points and collect it in as diverse a way as possible. A very interesting star with the nicknames of Tabby's star or Boyajian star is located about 1,470 light-years from Earth. In 2017, a team had discovered that its light was periodically dimming, which in itself is not very exciting. What was exciting was how much it was doing so. The loss of light from the star was up to 22%, which was remarkably high and was doing so at periods of only days. Many observatories around the world began pointing their detectors at the star to find out what was going on. SETI set its radio ears on Tabby's star as well. No unusual radio signals were found, but something very large in the vicinity of the star was seemingly blocking its light in a periodic way. Many natural solutions were proposed. Maybe a large cloud of dust was blocking it, or a bunch of comets. Maybe the star itself was changing its brightness. Perhaps a broken up piece of planet was blocking the light, or an asteroid field. All of these hypotheses were suggested. Many of these ideas had issues with them that could not fully explain the data. Then, there was the idea of an alien megastructure around Tabby's star. Maybe what we were seeing was an artificially created Dyson swarm around the star that has been occasionally blocking it. At the time of this video, still nothing conclusive has emerged for explaining what is orbiting and blocking the light from Tabby's star. Another very interesting field of study that began in 2016 and has been ongoing is called the Vanishing and Appearing Sources during a Century of Observations, or VASCO project. In these studies, comparisons are made from two different types of visible light observations of star fields. The aim is to attempt to detect any light sources in these films that have vanished or appeared between the images. Currently, what has been found is that at least 100 stars have vanished from sight. Movement of the stars out of the field of view has been ruled out, as they would have left light streaks in the observations. None have been found. The vanishing objects are almost definitely stars or galaxies. So what could account for these disappearances? One remote possibility is that they have collapsed and formed black holes without going through the normal stage of supernova first. This is the only ad hoc natural explanation available. Another hypothesis is that what we are seeing is the activity of extraterrestrial intelligence. Some kind of highly advanced astrophysical engineering has completely enshrouded these stars in very quick activity. Or perhaps ETI has somehow redirected the star's light in another way. The point is that no remotely satisfactory natural explanation has been found for how stars can completely vanish from view in such short times. This is an ongoing research project and may yield some spectacular results in the search for extraterrestrial intelligence. About 256 light-years away is a very strange star. It is Przybylski's star, named after its Polish-Australian discoverer, astronomer Antoni Przybylski. His namesake is about 2 times larger than the Sun and hotter, but much younger. However, what makes Przybylski's star so strange is its composition. It has been found to contain an overabundance of very unusual rare earth and radioactive elements. In addition, it has an underabundance of elements that should be common in a star of its type. Some of the weirdly abundant elements within the star are uranium, actinium, technetium, plutonium, and many others. What makes this very strange is that many of these elements have short half-lives of just days, and therefore the radioactive elements must be continuously created. But there is no known natural mechanism to do this, especially in such a large amount. One speculation is that the origin of these short-lived elements within Przybylski's star is sourced from a nearby advanced extraterrestrial civilization. The thought is that they are being artificially created, then dumped onto the star as either waste material or to pepper the star as a signature for other civilizations to detect. This would allow the civilization to announce their existence to the rest of the cosmos, using a kind of unusual beacon. This list would not be complete without mentioning one of the more recent controversial topics to have come up in the astronomical community, Oumuamua. In October 19, 2017, an observatory in Hawaii discovered the first interstellar object traveling through our solar system. It was determined to have a very strange shape. It was a cigar-shaped object that was about 400 meters or a quarter-mile long. The Hawaiian name, meaning messenger from afar arriving first, Oumuamua's length was about 10 times longer than its width, and was tumbling along as it sped toward the inner solar system and within the orbit of Mercury. It swept past the Sun and has started on its trek out of the solar system again. Several bizarre properties of this object made it unusual. One is its shape, as already mentioned. No other solid astronomical object has ever been known to have such a strangely elongated shape. Another was its speed. Once it sped past the Sun, it began to accelerate faster than orbital dynamics predicted. This meant that Oumuamua had some unusual means of acceleration. It was originally thought that Oumuamua may be a strange comet, which began bursting volatile gas from its surface, like comets usually do when they begin to warm up on their approach to the Sun. However, no detection of any gases were found around Oumuamua, nor any difference in rotation that would be expected from an outgassing. Other, much more speculative and bizarre explanations presented themselves. Maybe we were seeing a piece of a Pluto-like exoplanet that broke off and has been flying through space ever since. Or perhaps Oumuamua was a condensed cloud of a nitrogen or hydrogen gas. None of these scenarios, however, have ever been observed elsewhere in reality. The Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb, on October 26, 2018, submitted a paper suggesting that this was the first time we had observed evidence of a real alien technosignature. Oumuamua may be an extraterrestrial artifact, suggested Loeb, from an alien civilization. More specifically, a possible thin but dead light sail flying through the emptiness of space. His reasoning was that the Sun's solar radiation presented the needed extra wind pressure to push and accelerate the light sail. Loeb's controversial claims have been viewed by many in the SETI community as being too quick and sensational. They feel that he should take other more mundane explanations into consideration prior to seriously considering the ETI option. Most of the astronomical community is convinced that Oumuamua is either an asteroid or a comet. While there are many other scientific searches for ETI that we may be able to discuss, it would take many more videos to do so. However, most of the greatest hits that have been found so far have already been discussed in these videos. But you may be wondering, why is it that we haven't had any clear and conclusive evidence yet for any extraterrestrial intelligence, especially after searching so many ways and for so much time? This question is a part of what's called the Fermi paradox, and I would love to do a whole video on just that question by itself. There are many, many potential answers to that, even if it is assumed that there are quite a few advanced ET civilizations throughout our universe, or our galaxy for that matter. But one possible solution comes from the radio search for ETI. Look at this graph. Each of the colored sections represent most of the largest radio SETI searches that have been conducted to date. The graph is a three-dimensional space representing how far into space has been observed, the swath of sky that has been observed, and at what frequencies on the electromagnetic spectrum have been listened to. As you can see, what has been observed so far is minuscule compared to what can possibly be observed. But one other very important dimension that has been left out of this graph, and that is time. How long has each search lasted? In many cases, these searches are either very short or only periodic and not continuous. So even that search space has only been investigated in the most limited way. Combined, this means that our SETI searches cannot even be said to have begun compared to what can possibly be observed. And in every single one of these past search results that these videos have discussed, the extraterrestrials may have been exactly where we were looking and right in front of us all along, if only we had looked just a little longer, or with a smaller time resolution, or a few hertz higher or lower on the radio dial, or a little further beyond in space, or just to the side from where we last looked, etc., etc. Each search must have very strict and specific criteria associated with them. And within those particular criteria, at those particular times, nothing obvious and convincing has been found. But the search space is almost infinitely large. The search is extremely difficult and probably indefinitely long until something conclusive is found. But I believe that all the effort and resources that can be put into the effort really should. This is because the search, if successful, will be more than worth the effort in its scientific, engineering, sociological, ethical, philosophical, and religious returns. We are a curious species. Let us continue to listen and watch the skies. They may be teaching. Thank you again for all of your support and interest. Please subscribe to Turtles All the Way Down. I look forward to sharing the next video with you. Bye for now.